The year was 1944. Much of Europe was trapped. Nazi Germany held a dark grip. France, Belgium, Holland, Norway, all these lands suffered greatly. People dreamt of freedom, but hope was hard to find. The war had been raging for years. Millions had already lost their lives. The future looked very bleak indeed. The Allies knew they had to act. Britain, America and Canada, they planned to free Europe. Soviet Russia fought hard in the east. Stalin asked for a second front. This would split Germany's armies. It was a huge, dangerous task, but it was essential for victory. D-Day was the name given. To this great invasion plan, it was more than just one battle. It was a turning point in history. The courage of soldiers would shine. The planning for D-Day was secret. It was called Operation Overlord. So much needed to be organized. The Allies worked for many months. They had to choose the right place and the right time to attack. Germany had strong defenses. The Atlantic Wall was formidable. It stretched along the French coast. Breaking through would be very hard. To trick the Germans, plans were made. Operation Fortitude was one such plan. Fake armies were created in Britain with inflatable tanks and wooden planes. False radio messages were also sent. The Germans were led to believe the main attack would be at Calais. This was the shortest sea crossing. Normandy was chosen for the landings. Its beaches were wide and long. They were within range of Allied aircraft based in southern England. 5 beaches were selected for attack. General Eisenhower led the Allied forces. The night of June 5th was tense. The invasion was about to start. Brave paratroopers prepared to fly. American soldiers from the 82nd and the 101st Airborne Divisions. British paratroopers from the 6th Airborne. They would drop behind enemy lines. Their job was to seize key targets like bridges, roads and gun batteries. Then the Great Sea Armada set sail. Over 5,000 ships moved. Across the dark English Channel, there were huge battleships, smaller destroyers and cruisers, and hundreds of landing craft, packed tightly with anxious soldiers. The sea was rough that night. Many men felt terribly seasick, but their spirits remained strong. As dawn approached on June 6th, Allied bombers filled the skies. They dropped thousands of bombs on the German coastal defenses. The noise was tremendous, terrifying. Section 4. Storming the beaches, courage amidst chaos. The landings began early in the morning. At Utah Beach, American soldiers landed. The current had pushed them slightly to a less defended area. The paratroopers had done their job, disrupting German defenses inland. So resistance was not as strong as on some other beaches. The soldiers moved off the beach and pushed towards their objectives. Omaha Beach was a different story. It became known as Bloody Omaha. American soldiers faced terrible fire from German machine guns and artillery positioned on high bluffs overlooking the wide, open stretch of sand. Many landing craft were hit. Casualties were very high indeed. Brave men struggled through the water and across the deadly beach. At Gold and Juno beaches, British and Canadian troops fought hard. They faced strong German resistance and many beach obstacles, but they managed to push inland, securing their initial objectives. Section 5. Voices from the fire, stories of sacrifice and bravery. Imagine young Private Miller, just 19 years old, from Ohio, landing on Omaha Beach that morning. The noise was deafening, he said. He saw his friends fall beside him. Fear gripped him, but he kept moving. His training kicked in somehow. He had to get off that beach. He found cover behind a small dune and started to fire his rifle. Sergeant Tom Davies, a British soldier, landed on Gold Beach with his men. He was a veteran of other fights, but nothing like this horror. A machine gun pinned them down. He knew they had to take it out. He crawled forward with 2 men, using a crater for some cover. They managed to silence the gun, but one of his brave men died. Combat medics were true heroes, men like Charles Shea, a Native American. He was a medic with the US Army. He landed on Omaha Beach under the most intense fire. He worked tirelessly to save lives, ignoring his own great danger. These are just a few stories. There were thousands of acts of courage on that single momentous day. Section 6. The price of freedom, immediate impact and shifting tides. By the end of that long day, June 6, 1944, drew to a close. The Allies had achieved their goal. They had a foothold in France. The formidable Atlantic Wall was breached. Soldiers were fighting inland, but this victory came at a high price. Thousands of Allied soldiers died. Many more were wounded or missing. The beaches were stained with blood. The German commanders were surprised. The deception plans had worked well. They still believed Normandy was a trick and that the main attack would be at the Pas de Calais later. Hitler himself was slow to react. He refused to release vital panzer divisions to counterattack in Normandy. This crucial delay helped the Allies to strengthen their new positions. D-Day was a massive strategic blow to Nazi Germany's war machine. A successful second front was open in Western Europe at long last. The tide of the war had turned. Section 7, Echoes of D-Day, a legacy forged in blood and valor. D-Day was a critical step towards ending the Second World War. It marked the beginning of the end for Hitler's brutal regime. The liberation of Western Europe started on those Normandy beaches. Without D-Day, the war in Europe would have lasted much longer and cost even more human lives. Its importance cannot be overstated. Today, the memory of D-Day lives on in the peaceful fields of Normandy. There are many cemeteries. Rows of white crosses and stars of David mark the graves of brave soldiers who gave their lives for freedom. These sites are solemn reminders of the terrible cost of war and the immense sacrifice made by an entire generation. The D-Day landings changed our world. They helped to secure democracy and defeat a terrible tyranny. The alliances forged in that war between nations like Britain and America continued long after the fighting stopped. Each year we remember D-Day